At SHOT Show this year, I was shown a prototype of Monstrum's new X2 weapon light. But no, this isn't it. This is the new Monstrum X2, a fraternal twin to the 2000 lumen X1, and we're going to take a closer look at it on this episode. Hey, Moondog here. Welcome back to Moondog Industries, and today I have a Monstrum Tactical Raider X2. This is the smaller brother to the Raider X1, and I got a chance to see this new series of tactical lights at SHOT Show this year, but back then they didn't even have a name for the prototype, but now it's out. This, like the X1, is a combination hand stop and tactical light, and purports to output 2000 lumens. Now, we're going to take it out of the box, we're going to test it out, and we're going to see, does it really live up to their claims? And I want to thank Monstrum for sending this out for me to test and evaluate, and that's what we're going to do now. So let's get started. So rather than bore you with the tedious process of unboxing it, I'm just going to show you what you get in the box. So here you go. I really like the fact that they included an M-LOK to Picatinny adapter rail. Well, enough gawking, let's take a closer look. This is the Raider X2, and this is the smaller brother to the Raider X1 that Monstrum just come out with, and let's take a closer look at this. Unlike the Raider X1, this has a straight line design. It doesn't have the big wedge shape that the Raider X1 has. So for those who want a more low profile weapon light and grip, this would be the light for you. Despite not having the big chunky wedge there, this is less than an ounce lighter. So if you're looking for a lighter light, there isn't much difference between the two, and both of them purport to be 2000 lumens in brightness, which is quite bright. We're going to test that out in a minute, but I just wanted to show you its overall construction. It's got some nice ridges there for grip. It's got a dip in the front, so it functions as a hand stop as well if you are needing that. Like, let's say if you wanted to mount this onto a pump shotgun or having this on a short barrel rifle where you don't want your hand moving past your grip area and potentially getting near your compensator or flash hider or end of your barrel. It attaches via Picatinny rail on the top here. It has 2 recoil lugs and 2 tightening screws here. If you do not have a Picatinny rail, it comes with a Picatinny rail to M-LOK adapter, so that is a nice touch. And these panels here are not user accessible. I mean, I suppose you can get into them, but there's really no point. I've looked in there. It's just electronics and the battery, but that's not user replaceable either. So it's all aluminum, except of course the glass lens in the front and the silicone cover for the USB charging port in the back. There, it's USB-C, and a silicone activation button. Let's see if I can push that down there. By the way, when it's charging, there is a tiny little LED light that glows orange while it's charging and blue when it's fully charged, but it does not have a power or charging indicator. The single button is on the left side that activates and also cycles through the various mode and turns it off. One press turns it to high mode. Second press turns it onto its low or regular mode, and the third press turns it off. There is no momentary on. If you press it and let go, it doesn't turn on. It just turns on. It doesn't do momentary. If you press it for longer than 6 seconds, it will go into strobe mode. There we go. And just tap it to turn it off. So for those of you who do not like strobe, well, don't worry. It's very unlikely you're going to be pressing this for 6 seconds and turning it on. So if that's a concern, you probably shouldn't be concerned about this. And overall, this is a pretty compact. If hefty, it feels really solid. You could probably, hammer nails with this thing, or certainly break glass with this thing. And it is, let's see here, about an inch thick overall, and lengthwise about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a little less than 7 inches long, and a little over an inch, I'd say about an inch and a half, inch and a third tall. So overall, not much bigger than a large weapon light, tactical light mounted, and it does provide its own mounting system, so that is a plus. Alright, so let's get started testing this thing. So the first test I wanted to run was confirming that it outputs 2000 lumens, and I ran the weapon light for 30 seconds to warm up the chemistry and the battery, and I put it into my homebrew lumen tester. Now this is by no means a scientifically accurate device, but I did calibrate it to a known 100 lumen light. 1600, about 1700 lumens, so a little less than the 2000 advertised, but reasonably close. Alright, that is its high mode that it automatically goes to. It has a actually fairly tight hotspot, about 2.5 feet wide at 10 feet distance here. There is a very bright spill beyond that, and it almost stops, almost like it has a second hotspot because it goes very faint beyond that. The light definitely drops off quickly. Beyond that, I would gauge that to be about 6 feet from the central hotspot. And let's look at the low mode. This is roughly half the brightness, maybe a little less than half of the high mode. And let's test out the strobe here. And there's the strobe. As you can see, quite bright. Easily able to illuminate the fruit trees in my backyard, as well as the wall 50 feet away and the tree line 60 feet away, and easily the telephone pole 120 feet away, despite the fog diffusing the beam. Even in low mode, it is still quite bright. Industry standard drop tests are from 1 meter or 3 feet. I'm going to drop it from 6 feet twice onto rocks and dirt, so we'll see if it still works. Alright, we're going to test both of these radars and see how long they can run on high mode. So we're going to start by turning it on. And we're going to do a time lapse and see how long they'll stay running. 70 minutes, and the X2 ran just a little bit longer at 78. The packaging states that the X2 is IPX6 rated, which means it can withstand high pressure water jets from any direction. Except that it can't. In my testing, I found that water did end up getting into the unit, either through the silicone hatches or somewhere else. Well, after drying it for a few days and making sure no water shook out, I tested it again, and, well, surprisingly, it did work. But it still failed because it didn't meet its own IPX6 rating. Despite this, I dried it off, took it to the range, and gave it a real-world test. I mounted it on my Kel-Tec Sub 2000, which is a very lightweight direct blowback carbine, which translates to a much sharper recoil than my AR, and the X1 performed flawlessly with a steady beam without any flicker under recoil, despite the fact that it had water in its internals a few days before. The X2 performed so well despite the water mishap that I decided to give it one final test that I don't often give a flashlight. I run it over with my SUV. And it survived with just a few scratches. Alright, so what do I think of the Raider X2? Well, before I get into it, I'd like to ask you just a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button, and that's absolutely free, by the way. They really should change the wording on that from subscribe to follow or become a fan or something like that, because it's free to subscribe on YouTube. But by doing that, you're helping this channel grow, and thank you if you're already subscribed. And of course, another way you can help is by simply hitting the like and the notification bell buttons, because when you hit like, you're letting the algorithm know that this is a good video that it should recommend to other folks like you. So thanks for doing that. All right, so my opinions on the X2 are pretty much the same as my opinions on the X1, which is the wedged version of this weapon light. And chiefly, there's two shortcomings of this this particular weapon light. One is I don't like the control, the single button that you have to cycle through from high to low to off. If you want to turn it off, I want to turn it off. All the modern weapon lights that I own have a dedicated on-off switch and a whole nother control system for adjusting the brightness, and it remembers the brightness. I want to have a weapon light that has mode memory, but that's just me. Maybe you prefer this, cycling through control scheme because you're used to that from old-fashioned clicky. I shouldn't say old-fashioned in a negative way, but maybe you like the clicky lights, and that's what you're used to, and whatever you're used to and you've trained with, then go with that. And if this is something that you particularly like, well, then more power to you. Good on you. The other shortcoming that I have about this is less of my opinion, is that I found that this was not IPX6 rated for waterproof. That it says so on the box. It really is more IPX5, which is low pressure water or rain proof. And they could improve the weather seals on this, but a simple fix would be just to change the wording on the packaging to IPX5, and you're done. It's perfectly fine. I would buy a weapon light that was rain resistant only. That's great. If I want a fully submersible one, I'll get an IPX8. And this is IPX6. Yeah, just say it's IPX5 and you're done. What I like about it though is that this thing is super durable and just tough. And you can't say that with a lot of weapon lights, and this one certainly is that. So this has a lot going for it, and it is really bright. So it is that. So I would have a couple suggestions for them, and this again is echoed in my review of the X1. I would like them to add a third lug and tightening screw at the back. That way I could position this all the way past the edge of my handguard, and have more options on where I position this on the handguard as far as my grip and reach. Also, I would like them to add a second control button on the other side, so it's both ambidextrous and allow you a way to change your brightness mode that's independent of the activation. And I would like them to have a mode memory and have just a momentary on feature on the controls. Again, those are nice to have. Certainly not a deal maker or deal breaker for this. If you're going to buy this, you're going to buy it for its just sheer durability and brightness. And if you're interested in picking one up, I've included product links in my full written review at moondogindustries.com. You'll find a link to that in this video's description. If you're going to pick one up, use that link. It doesn't cost you anything more than not using that link. And I do get a tiny little commission, so that, every little bit helps. And again, to help, hit that like and subscribe button. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of this. Moondog, out. Hey, I'd like to know what you thought of this video. Leave me a comment or chat with me on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, MeWe, Instagram, or Locals. And if you want to see all of my videos, go to moondogindustries.com.